of modern generative workflows are scattered all over the place. So I might make an image one place and then turn into a video somewhere else and grab a soundtrack or voiceover or sound effects from here and then put it all together in a separate video editor. Wouldn't it be nice if I could do all that in one space? Well, luckily you can today because Adobe Firefly Video Editor is out in beta. We're releasing this as part of the Adobe Max conference in LA today. And it is a new multi-track video editing tool that's going to allow you to bring together your generated media and your captured media all together in one place. It's a really powerful tool, and in this video, I'm gonna do a walkthrough of how I've been using it, show you the tips and techniques that I've been using, and touch on some of the new Firefly features that they're releasing, like generating a soundtrack, generating speech, and some other stuff. This is one place where you can create all of your video content, and it's turning out to be really powerful and really exciting. So if that sounds good to you, let's get started. Okay, so I'm here at the new Firefly homepage, and I've been using this internally for the past couple of months, and I'm loving it because it allows me to jump around as my creative process changes and I iterate on things. And maybe I start with an image and generating an image with Firefly, and then I say, you know what, I want to turn this into a video. Or maybe I want to add a sound effect to it. Maybe I want to put multiple videos together in a timeline. All of those are paths that I can do really easily here. So I feel like this is kind of a great integrated ecosystem that allows me to do all of my generative stuff all in one place. So while there are a lot of features to explore here, I'm going to be doing most of them through the lens of this particular feature right here, Edit Video Beta. This is going to be a multi-track video editor on the web that's going to allow you to combine both your captured media with your generated media and do all sorts of stuff with it inside a timeline. I'll show you what I mean. We're going to click into this. Note this does currently say waitlist, which means there is a sign-up process. You click on it, you sign a form, and ideally you will be invited to this pretty soon, hopefully. So when you get started with a new project, you are going to see this Get Started modal that's going to give you a bunch of different entry points into getting started with your project. So that could include generating with Firefly, browsing your generation history, getting started with all sorts of aspect ratio sizes for social media, or jumping into one of your past projects in your recent timelines. And you can click View More over here or up here, Recent Timelines, to see all of your different timelines showing up down here. You can also get started with a new blank project, just skip all this stuff, or go to upload your own media and use that as your way to get started. For me, I'm going to get started by going to Browse Generation History to check out some of the stuff I've already generated previously. Okay, so that takes me into the Firefly Video Editor, and this is in general what the interface looks like. So because I chose Generation History, I'm going to be seeing this by default over here on the left-hand side, but all of these are just panels that you can open and close and check out at any given time, and you have a timeline down here that you could drag files into or click the button to upload as well. Let's get started though with generation history because this is great. I've got everything that I've ever generated in Firefly that's showing up in my generation history here at my fingertips to bring into my project. So a lot of times if I'm generating stuff, I'm doing multiple things around the same character or theme or, you know, whatever. And so here I've got all of that at my disposal. So here, when I hover over, if it's a video, I hover over it and it'll play back and show me what that video looks like. Or I've got some images here as well, all sorts of different things that I can play around with. And again, for any video, I just hover over it and I can see it. And then if I want to add it into a timeline, let's say I want to put several of these together in sequence, I can just click and drag it in. There it goes. It says importing Firefly asset and creating timeline. And now I have this clip inside my timeline. So here we've got this dancing papercraft bear character happening here. And you'll see as I hover over, I'm getting kind of a skimmed view of this. If you want to turn the skimmer on and off, it's this icon over here on the right-hand side. Skimmer or A is the keyboard shortcut. And now when I hover, it's not showing up. But now I've got a clip on my timeline and I could of course do as many as I want. So let's bring in this T-Rex. Let me zoom out a little bit here so I can see a few more characters. What else do we have here? An alligator, sure, why not? And then let's bring in our penguin as well right here. So the timeline is really responsive and works exactly as you would expect. So I have a clip here, I can drag it, rearrange these however I want. I can also trim them. So if I go up to the edge, the cursor is going to change and I can drag. And I love this. As I'm dragging, I can see the bounds of the full clip. So even if I drag this to be a shorter clip, when I drag it out like this, I can see, oh, I know I have this much more to get to the edge of the full clip. And I get the little number indicators as well, showing me how much of a change has happened. So it just feels really easy to work with this and manipulate it. And then we also have a split tool here. So I can click the split tool and then go to where I want to split, let's say right here or here. I'm just clicking with this tool selected to make some splits that I can go back to select, and I can maybe select and delete the parts that I don't want to make this a little bit shorter. And it's as easy as that. Now, the nice thing is I'm not just restricted to this one track, right? You can actually take any of these and drag them, and you will create multiple tracks. So right now I have 2 tracks that are over top of each other, and I could take this and let's try to drag the edges here and maybe do like a little picture-in-picture of the alligator dancing next to the penguin. And you can see that I've got both of them now simultaneously showing up. And if I wanted to kind of time these just right, I can push it like this or move this around however I want. Now, the same is going to be true of, adding titles or uploading your own media. You can kind of arrange these as many tracks and layers as you want, which gives me a lot of flexibility. If you want to see more of your timeline, you can drag this up and see as much or of as little as you want at any time. So if I'm making content that really relies on generative stuff, this is great because it's all right here. I don't have to upload anything. I just have, generated it before in Firefly. I can drag this panel out if I want to see a little bit more of everything. Of course, do the hovers over top of it for all of the videos to see them play back as well, and then drag them in if I want to. But maybe there's more that I want to do, right? I want to generate another video, or I want to do audio or something like that. So that's where this generate new button up here comes into play. And if I click on that, it's going to give me a bunch of different options of new things that I can generate. So video, if I click on that, is going to take me over here to generation settings. And if you've ever used Firefly text to video before, this should look very familiar in terms of the options that it gives you. So do you want a first or last frame? What's your prompt? What, resolution, aspect ratio, all that stuff showing up down here. If you want one of these other options like image, soundtrack, which is new, sound effects, speech, also new, you can do that, and it's going to open it up in a new tab window. And then once you finish and go through it, you come back and that should show up in your generation history. If it's not showing up right away, just press refresh. You should see it, and then you should be able to drag that in your timeline. So this is great. I've got everything here. So if I want to make a video and then make some music, I do a soundtrack. I want to add some little sound effects here and there, add a voiceover speech track. I can do all of these and have them all in one place, and all of them should show up in your generation history. So this just makes it really easy to kind of keep all your media in one place. Okay, so this works well. This is great. I've got a basic starting point. I can sequence my clips together. I've got all my media in one place. I'm good. But what if I want to take and make some iterations over stuff that's already in my timeline? So for example, I've got this alligator character that was dancing for a while, but now maybe I want this character to jump up and start jumping up and down in the air excitedly. Well, how would I go about doing that? Probably right now what I would do is take a screenshot of, this part and then bring that in as a reference image as my starting frame to do a generation. Luckily, in the video editor, we make life a little bit easier for you. And the way we do it is if I click on my frames here on my generation settings, you'll notice you got a few different options. I could upload an image from my device. I could access Adobe Cloud Storage, any files that I've made in Photoshop or elsewhere, or I can use my current frame. And if I do that, it's going to take wherever the playhead is and use that as my current frame. Okay, so this is great. This gives me a way to, extend my clips and just have it do multiple iterations of it. So I could start with my crocodile dancing, and then maybe it starts to jump, and then maybe it does a somersault, and maybe it, whatever I want it to do. And so I can keep this continuous flow of multiple generations happening. So let's go ahead and do a generation here. I'm going to go ahead and click generate. And what that's going to do is give me a little spinner that shows up over here. And then you'll see in my generation history, there's a placeholder here that says it is generating. Once it's done, I should see the finished asset showing up over here. and I can see my alligator jumping into the air like that. And now I've got something that I can add in here afterwards. And now when I go between the two, the character is going to transition from his first to his jump. And then I could keep on going, right? So now I'm at, let's say, this frame, and now I want him to crawl off or something like that. And I can keep adding multiple iterations by using this same start frame, click here, use current frame method, and continue to iterate and do multiple variations. Now I noticed this motion was a little bit slow. His jump felt a little bit, too slow to me, and like, slow motion epic shot. And what I want to do is make this a little faster. So I can select this and then go over to my properties on the upper right corner here. And this is going to give me a bunch of different options. I've got, the ability to flip it. I can change the position. And not only can I type numbers in, but I can also click and drag, which I really love as a, After Effects user. I love that kind of functionality. But I also have the ability to change speed. So let's make this a little faster. And you'll notice as I do that the timeline is actually showing me that change as well. So let's make this 380% faster. See how this looks. There we go. So let's play the whole thing. He's dancing and then he jumps in the air. That's looking a little bit better, more like what I would expect the speed to be overall for this piece. All right, but while we're here, let's check out some of the other options we've got. So I'm going to go ahead and click Generate New, and I'm going to go to Soundtrack. So this is a new feature within Firefly that gives me the ability to generate a soundtrack, background music based off of the parameters that I put into it. So that could be uploading a video. So I could take my video and upload it here to give that as a kind of basis of what I'm starting with. But I really like playing around with this. It's kind of a Mad Libs approach to creating sound. And I think it's a really smart way to describe what you're trying to go for. So here, it just came up with a default of a dreamy aesthetic song with vaporwave synth style for a TikTok. So I'm going to clear this and do my own. Now you can describe whatever you want here, but you can also use some of their prompts as well. So I think for this is going to be kind of playful. These characters are kind of playful and kind of warm. So I can add multiple ones if I want to. And then the style, I'm kind of thinking this should be maybe let's go for lo-fi. I'm into that. And then what kind of purpose? What is this going to be? So this is just going to be, I'm going to type in an animated short. Animated short. Okay, and let's click enter. And now I've got all of that up here. I also have some energy settings, so I can choose, kind of how I want it to feel versus tempo. I think medium's probably good for both of these right now. And then I can set the duration. Mine's gonna be a little shorter, so let's go to maybe something like, 40 seconds or something like that. And go ahead and click generate. Okay, and within a few seconds, I now have 4 variations that I can listen to. So let's hear how this playful, warm song with a lo-fi style for an animated short sounds. Here's track 1. See the animals dancing to that. Let's try track 2. I'm liking that. Track 3. This is the clear winner right now. Gotta love the whistles. Okay, and finally track 4. Okay, so we got a few different options here. This is great. And of course, if I wanted to iterate, I could change any of these. Like, you know what, the lo-fi thing isn't really working. Let's take that out and try something else. I can continue to iterate on it. It's a lot of fun, and I'm having a great time kind of exploring different ideas based off of the video that I'm trying to create. So having this in my creative toolbox makes things a lot easier. All right, so as expected, when I come back into the video editor, I'm seeing those soundtracks showing up here. It's actually reverse order, so this was the third one that I did. I'm gonna go ahead and drag that into my timeline down here, and now I've got that as a track. Let's play this back and see how it's sounding so far. Okay, so I'd probably do some editing to the beat, make things match up a little bit more, but overall, this is filling the vibe of what I'm trying to do. If this was like a kid's type, YouTube channel or something like that, I think this is working really, really well so far. So this is another project I was working on. This is called Papercraft Panda, and it's about this little character named Boba, cute little panda who decides to go out and venture into the forest and check out some new stuff. So one thing that you probably want to do with something like this is add a title. And luckily, right in Firefly Video Editor, we do have text. So if I click the T button over here for text, I see a bunch of different templates that I could use, all sorts of different things to help me get started. For the purposes of this, I'm just going to click this Add Text button up here, and this is going to allow me to just do whatever custom text I want. And you'll see it shows up in my timeline down here, and of course I could extend it for as long or as short as I want. So let's just type in Papercraft Panda, something like that. And I've got all the options that I would expect over here. So a ton of different font options at my disposal, and it shows some nice previews of what that might look like. So I like this one. I think this one looks pretty nice. Let's put it. Let's actually put it centered there, and maybe I'm going to add a little bit of extra spacing. So I'm going to click the spacing here and make the letter spacing go out a little bit, something like that, to make it feel a little bit more cinematic, and maybe bring this down. And I might want some backing behind this as well. So we have some options down here. If I want to add an outline, for example, I could choose a specific color. So if I wanted like a stroke or something like that, that might be nice. I also can choose a background color if I wanted to go that route, and or a shadow treatment of some sort. I think the shadow is probably looking the best to me. And then I have some additional options if I wanted to change the blur, angle, distance, all that stuff. But that's looking pretty good. So let's stick with that. Now, I kind of want a narrator to talk through the different scenes that Boba is going through, and I feel like the best way to do that would be going to the Generate Speech option. So again, in the Generation History panel, I'm going to click Generate New and go to Speech, which is going to open up in a new tab. So this is Firefly Generate Speech Beta, and it's pretty self-explanatory. You just type or paste whatever text you want the voice to say, and then choose a voice, choose some parameters, and generate it, and you've got a voiceover track, basically. So I've got some text that I used here for Boba the Panda, and I'm going to try some of these voices. Let's see how they sound.
Each Firefly speech voice has over 30 emotion tags.
Each Firefly speech voice has over 30 emotion tags.
Each Firefly speech voice has over 30 emotion tags.
Each Firefly speech voice has over 30 emotion tags.
So I've got a few different options here. For voices, if I want to see more, I can click View More, a bunch are here. That's sounding good. I also have some control over things like speed and pitch. If I want things to move a little faster, sound a little higher or lower, all of that stuff. Now, one feature that I really like that Generate Speech does is it allows you to change certain parts with the tone that you want to say. So for example, if I don't want this whole thing to be read in a monotone way, I could select certain parts that I want to be accentuated and go to Select It and go to Add Tone, and then select what type of tone you want. So in this case, might be pretty excited about going on a big adventure. And when you do that, it's going to give it that an underline and put the tag in front. So there's a few tips down here. If you click Show Tips, it's going to tell you, you kind of want to use emotions to complete sentences rather than individual words. And I agree with that. I think it works a little bit better. And sometimes I've had to re-roll it a few times and try some different variations to see what kind of emotion works best. For now, though, I'm going to take that off and just do a straight reading of narration. So let's go ahead and click Generate with Brittany as the voice and see how this sounds. Okay, so that took about 5-10 seconds, something like that. Let's go ahead and listen.
One day, Boba the panda was munching on some bamboo in her jungle home. After she was full, she decided to venture out and explore the jungle more.
Okay, so that sounded pretty good. I'm going to try selecting this, though, and instead of just a straight reading, I'm going to go to storytelling and try something like this. Let's see how this sounds. Okay, let's try this.
One day, Boba the panda was munching on some bamboo in her jungle home. After she was full, she decided to venture out and explore the jungle more.
Okay, that sounded a little bit more of the voice that I want, but you can play around with these emotions and your phrasing and all of that stuff. You can even add pauses here to make things feel a little bit more natural. Of course, you could edit that in the Firefly Video Editor as well, which I'm going to do in a second. But overall, this is sounding good, so I'm going to hop back to the Video Editor now. Okay, so back in the Firefly Video Editor, I see my updated variations here. I'm just going to drag my last one in here into my voiceover track, and then I'm going to kind of move it and probably split it up a little bit. So let's do where some of these gaps are, like this, something along those lines, and then I can kind of move these to fit some of the different scenes. Okay, so let's see how my story is coming together now.
One day, Boba the panda was munching on some bamboo in her jungle home. After she was full, she decided to venture out and explore the jungle more. It was a little scary leaving home, but she was determined to go on an adventure.
So yeah, this is starting to come together. And this is what I love about projects like this is something that was just an idea, like, probably half an hour ago, right? And then I started to create some images and then turn them into videos. And now I'm adding, a voiceover and soundtrack and titles and all that stuff all kind of in one ecosystem and putting it all together in the video editor. And that leads to some pretty cool new kinds of workflows, right? And one thing I gotta say though, it's not just limited to generative only media. I'll show you what I mean. Just because the name of it is the Firefly video editor doesn't mean you actually have to use generated stuff. This, in fact, is something that was all captured media of my own. So I'm doing a video game controller review, and I've got my main track down here. I've got some B-roll shots, all of that stuff, and I've even got some titles up front and my soundtrack down here. So as a web-based video editor for traditional captured media, it actually works really well too. And you can have all your media up here in your media panel. You can have multiple timelines. I got my widescreen and my vertical version. I can upload more, make new timelines, all of that stuff, see all of this stuff in my panel. It actually works really well. And all the editing tools work the same in terms of trimming and all of that. But the part that I really love for something like this, which is review, where I just kind of stream of consciousness, talk to the camera for several minutes, but then I want to cut it down to like a minute reel or something like that. What I can use over here is text-based editing. If you've used this on Premiere Pro on the desktop, this works just as well here, where I can basically edit my video as if I was editing a text document. So here I've got the full text and transcript, and if I were to, play this back, you can see as I'm talking and saying things, it shows up here exactly what I'm saying at any given time. And if I decide, I want to take, part of this out. So maybe I don't care about the professional quality build or something like that. I select it. You'll notice it's also selecting it down here in the timeline. I press delete and it's gone. Or if I want to cut and move something elsewhere, whatever, I have all those options at my disposal. And it makes for editing something that's, spoken like this, like a review or a podcast or something like that, really easy and fun and intuitive to do inside the Firefly video editor. But sometimes I might want those generative parts, like for example, some B-roll of some golden coins falling down as I'm talking about the price of, this particular controller. And so I can do that absolutely. So I've got, my generation settings over here. I already was starting to type in golden video game coins falling in a pile. I had played around with this earlier with some different looks and feels. I like this kind of illustrated look. I'm going to bring it into my timeline. Just like I was talking about earlier, I'm going to take this frame, make this my first frame, current frame. There we go. It's showing up. Now I can just delete this and let's go ahead and generate. Okay, so that finished. It shows up over here. I can do a little rollover preview. I like that. Let's drag it in. And of course I could make this, take up the entire screen if I wanted to and have those coins show up here. Or I could do something where I get to see a little bit of both to make, visually have a talking head here as well as a little picture in picture and do something along those lines where I've got a little, call out. And if it was vertical, maybe I'd put that, at the bottom of the screen while my head's at the top or something along those lines. So you have a lot of different options here. And what I found is for a lot of my social media projects where I'm talking about an event I went to or doing a review of something or something along those lines, I really am enjoying trying to do it in the Firefly video editor because I love the text-based editing. I love how easy it is to quickly generate music or video B-roll or whatever I need for my content, and having all that in one place seems to work really well. And before we wrap up today, I just wanted to showcase a few extra Firefly features that I've been using a lot. One of them is boards. If you haven't tried boards, it's been out in beta for like the past year, but it's just kept getting better and better. I'll show you one of the projects I've been working on. So this is a board I've been working on for, I'm with a local theater production company called Royal Theater Academy. They're working on The Little Mermaid, and we wanted to try some different variations of some projected backgrounds that we're going to do. And there was a talk between, hey, what kind of style should we do? So this was the perfect use case for boards where I'm basically creating a mood board and trying a few different styles. So I said, okay, for, the King's Court, here's some different suggestions for this. And we weren't sure if we wanted kind of an oil painted style or a watercolor style. Really easy for me to make some variations. And with a lot of these, I would render something out and then fine tune the details of it. And you can absolutely do that. So I can go in here and click edit, generative fill, and use the brush. I'll usually make the brush a little bit bigger and say, you know what, instead of the castle back here, could this be a giant seaweed tree or something like that? And I type in what I want to be changed or added or whatever. So it's really easy to kind of iterate. And for something like this that I'm sharing with a broader team, so I just click share and it's going to allow me to share this board with anyone with an Adobe ID. And I can just, get the director's feedback on what they're looking for and which one of these is looking, great, and continue to make more and more variations. And all of my generation history is showing up here on the side. So I have access to all of those different things, which makes it really easy to not lose anything and make sure I can go back and find everything that I'm looking for. So boards has been great for any start of beginning to a project or multiple iterations of a concept. I've been using a lot for that sort of stuff. And the last thing I want to end on today is this one here, edit an image using a text prompt to edit. This, if you've used VO3 or Nano Banana or anything like that, basically you can edit an image and have things change just based off of text prompts. I'll show you what I mean. Let's dive in. So pretty simple interface here. I'm just going to upload a headshot that I've got. Okay, so there we go. That was taken for School of Rock, I think. And I have a choice of which model I want to use, whether it's Firefly or Gemini, the Nano Banana I was talking about, or other ones as well. And then I can just describe what I want to have happen in the image. So let's go ahead and type add a professional suit to this guy and a blue-gray background. Something like that. Let's go ahead. It says uses 10 credits. Let's generate. And it's going to go through this little analysis process and come up with a result based off the prompt I just said. Okay, so there we go. Now I've got a suit looking a little more professional there. Let's make the tie red and add glasses. And you know what? And green hair. How about green punk hair? Let's see what happens. Okay, that's a look. That's a look I could go for. So I'm loving this. So this is really fun to play around with, and you've got your full history down here. So if I didn't like one of those variations, I can always go back and go between all of them and see how they all work. Let's just do one more fun one. Let's do add a pirate hat and eye patch on left eye. Oh. Perfect. Yes, there's my new LinkedIn headshot. That's great. So playing around with it, have fun. Very cool new feature in Firefly. All right, so that is it. That is the Firefly Video Editor Beta, along with some other tools in the Firefly ecosystem. So we would love to hear what you think. So once you get in with the waitlist, in the Firefly Video Editor, there's a little beta flask icon. Please click that and give us your feedback. Give us ideas or submit bug reports or anything like that. What are those things that are missing for you? What are those features that you can't live without that you really want to see us prioritize next? Your info and your input is going to be extremely valuable and help shape the direction that this product goes. So that is very much appreciated. Please do that if you get in. And other than that, yeah, just check it out. And thanks for watching and have fun creating.